Yeah, we're like 8 hours late covering this. The trade went down shortly after I went to sleep last night. Last night? This morning. Doesn't make a difference, doesn't it? But still, we have ourselves a trade to get into. The Edmonton Oilers have gotten their guy, their goalie. The Oilers have acquired Connor Ingram from the Utah Mammoth in exchange for future considerations. The goaltender will report to the Bakersfield Condors, and Utah is retaining $800,000 of his $1.95 million AAV salary. And this, for all intents and purposes, is a good acquisition. This is a really good acquisition. Say what you want about Connor Ingram and whether or not he can actually be seen as an NHL option these days, but this guy was pretty good at one point. And even Bench Rates goes out there and says this: he performed well in 2022 to 2024. If he gets back to it, he will help the Edmonton Oilers. Now, Connor Ingram, if you go over to his profile here, this video doesn't need to be too long considering what he has gone through recently, but Connor Ingram is 28 years old, 6'1", 218, left-handed catching goaltender, and he's going to be making $1.15 million against the Oilers cap. He's got one more year at a total AAV of 1.95. Utah is going to be paying $800,000 of that. Ingram, in the most recent campaign, had an .882 save percentage in 22 games, which is not great. But the seasons before that, I mean, he was a consistent Arizona Coyotes guy, .907 save percentage in 27 games and in 50 games. This is really strong hockey. Like, I'm going to say it right here. If the Oilers had .907 caliber goaltending in 50 games, the past two Stanley Cup Finals, they honestly might have won the whole gosh darn thing. It would have been pretty reasonable for them to take another win or two had they just had better goaltending like Connor Ingram was providing the past few years. Now, the Utah Hockey Club stint was not great. This was not a good season for Ingram. It's why he ended up taking some time in the AHL. I guess it's why he'll report to the AHL in Bakersfield right now. But what shouldn't be ignored about Ingram and his situation is that he just recently got cleared by the NHLPA's Players Assistance Program. This is an article on Sportsnet.ca by Mark Spector that talks about why the Oilers decided to give Connor Ingram a shot, and I wanted to dive into this right here. Hockey at times eats its young, but every once in a while you run across a Connor Ingram, a player who reaches up for a hand and finds one reaching back. People go through things in life, began Edmonton Oilers GM Stan Bowman, who acquired Ingram from the Mammoth on Wednesday, and part of it is to support him and get him back. When I talked to Ingram, I just said, hey, we're here, we believe in you. We are here to get you back and to get your career going again. And he was very thankful to hear that. This is a story of a well-liked person, described by a former beat writer as a wonderful soul, whose mental health and lifestyle had positioned him to be left behind by a game that is always moving forward towards the next shiny new prospect. Back in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, Ingram's obsessive-compulsive disorder was so debilitating that it led him to the NHL's Players Assistance Program. Ingram does not expect ever to completely leave that OCD behind, but thanks to his time in the program, he can deal with it now. It's like a nagging injury, he told NHL.com's Emily Benjamin in January 2024. If you don't take care of it, it's going to get worse. For the rest of my life, I'll sit in a stranger's chair and tell them my problems once a week. It's just a fact of my life. Fast forward to this fall, with Ingram on the final year of his contract with the Mammoth, yet not at their camp and somewhat estranged from the organization. Utah GM Bill Armstrong put Ingram on waivers, and 31 other teams took a pass. Bowman couldn't afford to claim Ingram and his entire salary, but just in case, the Oilers' goaltending department did a deep dive on the player, and their findings presented what Bowman now calls an interesting opportunity. The Mammoth retained $800,000 of his salary, leaving his AAV at just 1.15, exactly the number that can be buried in the minors without having any salary on a team's NHL cap. At that point, it kind of changed the calculus a bit for us, in the positive sense. There really was no downside to the Oilers acquiring Connor Ingram. Matthias Ekholm said that he's a great guy, and if we get him going, he's the kind of guy that could be lights out. Everyone needs support at one time or another. Right now, he's just excited for a fresh start. So, there is a lot to like out of Connor Ingram, and when he is at his best, that's how I like to look at players, Bowman said. When they're on top of their game, Connor is a very, very good goalie. So now we've got to try to get him back at that level. He's going to Bakersfield, he'll get going, and then from that point forward, I guess, it's a wait-and-see approach. He could be in Bakersfield for the season. We don't know. There are no promises made. We just want to get him back playing hockey, so he's at his best, and then it gives us a lot of options. You've got to have a lot of options, and I feel like this puts us in a much better position today relative to goaltender depth than we were yesterday. And that does make sense in my mind. I would say that Connor Ingram at his best is much, much better than Stuart Skinner. So obviously the Oilers want to open up whatever opportunities they can for him. And it's really good that they're fully believing and trusting in Ingram to be able to bounce back. And they're going to provide him with the proper path and tools to give him that opportunity to come back. Because really, Connor Ingram is so good when he is on his game. I remember this season in particular, like, he was such an underrated goalie pickup in fantasy leagues. It's like, hey, this guy's playing all the games, and he's providing such good goaltending. He got 6 shutouts on the year. I mean, where was he relative to the rest of the NHL in that season? Let's just pop it up right here, 2023-2024. So, Connor Ingram goaltending, save percentage wise, okay, he was like top 30 in the NHL with the save percentage, which is good considering a bunch of these guys didn't play as many games. You search by goals against average, was he still top in the league? Yeah, so he was just around the 37th overall range. But then you sort by shutouts and it's like, hey, Connor Ingram was tied for number 1 in the NHL in shutouts that season. Utah was on something different defensively that campaign, I guess, but Connor Ingram and his goaltending definitely was a very big part of that. So now Ingram is in Edmonton. Hopefully he'll be able to bounce back, at the very least with the Bakersfield Condors. He already had some AHL time last year, and by all accounts he was pretty good. So if he's able to take that momentum into Bakersfield and use it early on in the season, become great, and then overtake Calvin Pickard, then maybe this guy can become the number 1 in Edmonton. It all just depends on how he bounces back. Goalies are voodoo after all, so they're never going to be consistent on the same development path as everybody else. Connor Ingram, of course, going through the ups and downs that he has. This is going to be a really good opportunity for both him and the Edmonton Oilers. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Connor Ingram trade? And how do you think this guy's going to fare in the Edmonton Oilers organization with the Bakersfield Condors? If you enjoyed this video at any point, please feel free to hit the like button. If you did not, then hit that dislike button. Comment section helps out with the algorithm, so I really appreciate it if you contribute over there. What are your thoughts on the Ingram trade from Utah over to Edmonton? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.